Hello friends, in Anatomy and Physiology class, this is Hassan Rafid, your Anatomy and Physiology instructor at Madison College in Wisconsin. We will continue talking about the central nervous system. This time we're going to talk about the spinal cord. The spinal cord forms as a center of activities for reflexes. It also forms a neural pathway for impulses and signals from the brain to the tissues, to the joints, to the muscles, to the effector organs. It also forms a pathway for sensory impulses from these organs, these tissues, muscles, and joints to the brain or to the spinal cord itself. The spinal cord has the same sheath covering like the brain, and these are the meninges. It does have the three layers. It also contains and circulates through it the cerebrospinal fluid. I have a section of the spinal cord here along with the vertebra, and I want to share with you the parts and the features of the spinal cord. This model is showing a cross section of the spinal cord along with the vertebra. Identifying the front and the back of the spinal cord is important, and it's actually vital in answering and identifying correct positions in the spinal cord. This is the spinous process, and that is always going to be the posterior or the back of the spinal cord. This is the body, the vertebral body, and this identifies the anterior or the ventral part of the spinal cord. So, this is the spinal cord surrounded or protected by the vertebra at all levels until the second or first lumbar vertebra. Looking at the features from inside to outside, we're going to identify them one by one. The spinal cord is surrounded by the three layers of the meninges. The first one here right attached to the body of the spinal cord is the pia mater. This is the pia mater surrounding the entire spinal cord. The outer part here is the subarachnoid space, and this is the arachnoid, which is the second layer. Third layer is the dura mater, and this is the toughest and the outermost layer of the spinal cord. So, dura mater, arachnoid, subarachnoid space, and the pia mater. Look at the spinal cord. You see two areas, a darker area or a gray area. This is the gray matter. This is the white matter. The gray matter is an H letter shape or a butterfly shape. It does have three horns. Posterior horn of the gray matter, lateral horn of the gray matter, anterior horn of the gray matter. The anterior horn contains the motor neurons and emerges from it the motor division of the spinal nerve on both sides. The motor division of the spinal cord, of the spinal nerve. The lateral horn contains the cell bodies of the autonomic nervous system, namely the sympathetic ganglia. The posterior horn contains the sensory neurons and emerges or comes out of it the sensory division of the spinal nerve. Also, another feature that helps you to identify your front and back of the spinal cord is the posterior root ganglion. This knot-like structure, this is a posterior root ganglion. The spinal nerve is a mixed nerve. As you see here, it does have a motor division, a sensory division, and it comes out in between the two vertebral bodies or the two vertebra and through the intervertebral foramina between the two vertebrae comes the spinal cord. We know there is 31 pairs of the spinal cords of the spinal nerves that emerge in each side of the spinal cord and supplies organs and tissues at different levels of our body. This is the posterior median fissure. This is the anterior median fissure. This is the rami communicant. So this is a cross section showing you the spinal cord with a vertebra. On the other hand, this is another cross section of the spinal cord without a vertebra. So also here you need to identify your anterior or ventral and your posterior or dorsal parts so you answer correctly. Again, this is your posterior root ganglia, so that means this is your posterior or back side of the spinal cord. So that means this is your posterior horn of the gray matter, this is your lateral horn, and this is your anterior horn. We also want to name and mention here in the center, this is the central canal of the spinal cord. All right, surrounding the spinal cord, also here we are going to see the pia mater. These are the two roots. Of course, this is the sensory division of the spinal nerve, of the sensory root, and this is a motor root. They both unite and form the spinal nerves. It's important also to mention that diseases of the anterior horn of the spinal cord present with motor deficit, while diseases of the posterior horn present with sensory deficit. Thank you very much.